Right out of the gate, what Luka did in Europe changed the math for the Lakers. He showed up to EuroBasket like a man trying to remind the world that he's still the most dangerous offensive force you can imagine, averaging 34.7 points, 8.6 rebounds, and 7.1 assists across the tournament. And that kind of performance does more than pad highlight reels. It reframes how a franchise thinks about timelines, urgency, and what it's willing to accept to chase a championship while its new centerpiece is still in his prime. FIBA basketball. That matters because the Lakers aren't a blank slate rebuild. They're a window team with a short runway to maximize LeBron's final peak years and Luka's prime together. The front office just closed that uncertainty by locking Luka in with a multi-year extension, and when a franchise gets that financial commitment from its superstar, it naturally shifts from preserve flexibility to deploy assets. The extension changes incentives. You stop hoarding draft currency as an abstract hedge and start buying proven two-way wings and depth who can turn the ceiling into a real immediate ceiling. The headlines about the team now being willing to be more aggressive aren't theater. They're the predictable sequel to that new certainty. Reuters. So what does more aggressive actually look like? The reporting points to a clear, sensible priority: upgrade the two-way wing. The Lakers currently have more ball handlers and shot creators than lockdown perimeter stoppers, and in today's playoff environment, you need wings who can check elite scorers, switch, and still be able to score enough to keep defenses honest. That's why a name like Andrew Wiggins moves from not on our list to definitely a player we'd consider once management knows Luka is staying long-term. Wiggins brings length, proven perimeter defense, and a three-and-roll scoring floor that fits next to Luka and LeBron's playmaking. The chatter about Wiggins is concrete. He's on a $28.2 salary this season with a roughly $30 million player option next year, which makes him expensive but movable if Miami wants financial flexibility. SI now the swampy part. Money rules the deal. The Lakers sit almost exactly at the first apron, basically a hard spending line that severely restricts what you can add without triggering penalties, with just about $1.1 million of wiggle room. That makes in-season acrobatics complicated. Any trade that sends Wiggins' contract to the Lakers would likely need a third team to absorb salary or provide tradable cap space. Brooklyn is a common hypothetical because they've had cap space available. In plain English, it's doable, but only if three teams play nice and the Heat are suddenly motivated to shed payroll. That's not impossible, but it's narrow and messy. It means the Lakers can push for real upgrades, but they're not entitled to make them unless several market pieces shift. Spotrac.com. Let's be honest about the upside and the risk. The upside of landing a legitimate two-way wing is massive. You reduce defensive mismatches, you improve spacing for shooters, Luka's gravity opens lanes, and you add a player who can guard the opposition's best perimeter threats on a nightly basis. That changes series matchups against teams that try to feint into pick-and-roll bludgeoning or who rely on agile wings to generate offense. But the cost is real. Draft capital or young assets, plus short-term cap flexibility, and the gamble that Wiggins, or any veteran of his profile, remains healthy and motivated in LA spotlight. The Lakers could accelerate their championship window, or they could mortgage depth and future flexibility for a marginal fit. There's also a human element that shouldn't be ignored. Luka's EuroBasket run wasn't just stat padding. It was a cultural message. He's hungry, in peak condition, and he expects a roster built to win now. That puts pressure on the front office and on teammates. It also changes LeBron's calculus. With Luka locked in, the argument for maxing out this season's resources grows louder because leaving Luka's prime unleveraged while you hoard room for a hypothetical 2026 reset looks increasingly dismissive of both stars' competitive clock. If LeBron stays on a one-year or opt-in blueprint while management asks Luka to play through another season of wait and see, locker room tension could arise. Optics matter in title runs. Reuters. If you're asking what I'd do as the Lakers front office, here's the practical playbook. First, prioritize the wing upgrade, but avoid crippling the team's future flexibility in one swing. That means using a mix of veterans and contract matching assets, perhaps a moving piece that's not a core first-rounder, plus a bench player who clears minutes for DeAndre Ayton and the youngsters. Second, tilt toward players with defensive IQ and switchability over pure scoring profiles. Luka needs wings who can rotate and recover, so he's not the primary on-ball defender every possession. Third, be patient about in-season moves. Make the small surgical upgrades now and keep the big transformational swings on the table for next offseason when LeBron's $52.6 million player option comes off the books and the Lakers would have a clearer cap path. That gives both an immediate juice and a fallback plan if the market gets hostile. Reuters, let's map a plausible Wiggins scenario. Miami, flirting with the tax, decides it wants to clear salary. Brooklyn or another cap-rich third team swaps cash and picks to make the math work. The Lakers take Wiggins. He brings switchable defense and a proven streaky scorer who won't demand the ball, and Los Angeles gives up a depth package plus a future pick. Result? Wing upgrade now, less draft flexibility later. Success depends on chemistry, injury luck, and whether Wiggins accepts playing in a role that's complementary to Luka and LeBron's star-driven offense. The alternative is more creative. Trade for a cheaper, longer-term wing in a 3-team deal that preserves the first-rounder for a true blockbuster later. Both are plausible. The board just needs matching receipts. Bleacher Report. Finally, a reality check. Basketball is still played on hardwood. Double superstars don't guarantee championships. Context, health, and roster construction do. Luka's EuroBasket dominance raised the stakes. It nudged LA toward urgency. But the hardest part is turning noise into net wins. If the Lakers can add wraparound pieces who defend, rebound, and thrive in secondary roles, they'll be dangerous. If they overpay for a single piece and leave themselves thin at center or on the bench, the whole thing could look clever on paper and brittle in January. So here's the short, memorable line to hold on to. Luka's European statement didn't just make headlines. It moved the front office's default setting from wait to hunt. The Lakers now have a decision to make between patience and ambition, and whichever path they choose will shape not just this season, but the next half-decade of the franchise. Luka Doncic just reminded the NBA why you don't treat a superstar's offseason as a placeholder, and the Lakers are quietly changing course because of it. After a dominant EuroBasket where Doncic averaged 34.7 points, 8.6 rebounds, and 7.1 assists, the Lakers aren't content to sit on cap space and wait for next summer. Signing Doncic to an extension shifted the team's calculus. Instead of hoarding flexibility, LA is eyeing upgrades now, specifically on the wing, to build a roster that can win while this core is together. One name that popped up, Andrew Wiggins. He's the sort of two-way wing the Lakers lack, a proven scorer and defender who'd be an upgrade over what the roster currently offers. Wiggins averaged about 18 points and 4.5 rebounds last season and still hits threes at a respectable clip. The problem? Money and structure. Wiggins makes $28.2 million this season and has a player option north of $30 million next year, and both Miami and LA are hard capped at the first apron. Any Wiggins trade would likely require a third team to absorb salary. Brooklyn has the sort of cap room that could make that complex three-way deal happen. That complexity is the story here. The Lakers are roughly $1.1 million below the apron, which means any in-season splash that takes on sizable salary is a logistical puzzle. They can't even add a veteran minimum player until mid-January under their current cap posture. So while the organization wants to be aggressive, the front office is constrained by both rules and math. Still, the intent matters. The team that once prioritized future flexibility now appears willing to flip that script to compete around Doncic and LeBron. Management will monitor the market closely. If a team like Miami slips or decides to shed salary and a viable three-way structure emerges, the Lakers could pounce. If not, the bigger payday arrives next summer when LeBron's $52 million comes off the books. Even if the plan is to re-sign him, that cap relief creates real maneuvering room. Bottom line, the Luka factor has accelerated the Lakers' timeline. This season probably won't be treated as a bridge year. Expect LA to probe trade conversations, test multi-team options, and try to upgrade the wing if the price and structure line up. If the market won't bend, the Lakers will keep their chips for a much larger move next summer. But make no mistake, they're hunting now.